Nerf herders, listen up! Welcome back, I am Captain Xavier, and I am not feeling particularly well today, so please pardon my lack of energy. But this is a very important topic, and I promised a fan that I would do this video as my next Captain's Commentaries. So this is going to be a fairly serious topic. I encourage you to actually watch the video and listen to it, and hopefully this will have some good effect. But I also understand if this isn't what you're here to watch, and that's perfectly fine as well. The topic is, as the video description would suggest, bullying. And particularly bullying within the Nerf community, but also bullying as a general concept. And this is coming about because one of my fans had a very, very unpleasant experience involving bullying, where a rumor was started about him that ended up making it all the way to law enforcement, and because of the nature of the atmosphere in America these days, it had to be taken seriously, and if things had gone badly enough, he could have gotten killed as the result of it. As it was, a lot of very bad things happened to him and to his family, and they will probably have repercussions for quite possibly for the rest of his life. And that's not okay. That's not funny. That's not silly. You see it in the online community by far the worst, with swatting and doxing and all sorts of horrific things that people do to people that they've never even met, which makes absolutely no sense to me. And the internet is by far the worst place for this sort of thing, because the anonymity of the internet inherently makes us all slightly sociopathic. It's very hard to have proper empathy on the internet, because you can't see the other person's face, you can't see the reaction when you say something, you don't see the hurt in their eyes, you don't have to deal directly with the consequences of your words and your actions online the way you would in person. But high school and middle school are almost as bad, because kids are just really starting to learn about a lot of major social interactions. And too much time on the internet is probably making us all inherently sociopathic in real life. But that's really not, the issue here today. But I would encourage you, think about what you're doing. Think about how it would make you feel if somebody did that to you. That's generally the golden rule that we try to live by, is don't do something to someone else that you wouldn't want have done to you. Alternatively, do things to others that you would like to have done to you. Those are two very different approaches to that particular philosophy. One is don't do bad things, and the other is actively do good things. And you really should do both, I feel. But in the Nerf community, we see it, there's more bullying than you would think would make any sense in a hobby that involves toys. But there is no hobby that is truly free of it. And the biggest issue in Nerf is elitism, in my opinion. You have the people who believe that if your Nerf blaster is not the absolute best Nerf blaster and is not top tier with the best motors and the best mods, then they have the right to make fun of you because theirs is better. And that is simply wrong. And I very much don't hold with that, and I very much try to argue against it whenever I get the opportunity to, and try to explain to people that it's okay to not have the best blaster. As long as you're having fun with Nerf, you're doing it right. And if you're either not having fun, something is wrong. Either you're doing something wrong or the people around you are doing something wrong. Or if you're making somebody else not have fun, then you are doing Nerf wrong. That is really the only way that I feel you can Nerf incorrectly, is to take the fun out of it. And you see the elitism crops up both quite often on the mod boards. When someone who is brand new to Nerf gets on one of the boards and asks a question that has been asked many times before, has been answered many times before, or that there are videos out there that you can watch, and you'll see people jump in and yell at them, going, what kind of an idiot wouldn't know that, or why don't you just Google it, or things like that. And that isn't what the mod community is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about teaching. And so it'd be much, much simpler to simply, give them a link to one of the videos, or simply, explain to them, these are the video channels that have guides on modding. Send them to Wallcom, send them to my channel, send them to any of the, to Mr. Nathan's channel, to any of the channels where they teach how to mod, rather than being condescending and rude and, feeling that you're better than them because you know things that they don't know. Well, there was a time when you didn't know them. You had to learn them, or you had to be taught them, or you had to search it out. And to tell somebody, why don't you just Google it when they come to your community to learn about your community is so absurd to me. It's absolutely baffling, because the whole point of having the mod community is so we can teach each other. I love teaching, and that may be just part of my personality, where I love talking about the things that I'm passionate about. I love explaining about simple things, how to solder a motor, how to upgrade a flywheel, things like that. I enjoy teaching new people to do those things. That's why I host mod parties. That's why I invite, parents to bring their children by to learn how to do it. So, here's how we, this is how this community works. This is how this hobby works. It's why I enjoy this hobby, is that there is a great deal of friendly community, and especially, and I know I am blessed by my local group, because so many of the local modders share that philosophy of we're not super competitive in most of our Nerf wars. We don't care. We divide the teams up as evenly as possible and try to balance the blasters as best we can, and we do games that are designed to nullify any serious advantage, so that the little kid with the jolt can have just as much fun as the adult with the caliburn. And that's the other reason that I really want to get my own place, so that I can host my own events, so that I can encourage that at more events, and so that I can then have the super competitive outlet, the Blaster Tag Association options, for those people that do want to be really competitive, where it is about having the best blaster and really stretching your mod capability, and how far can I take this, and how good can it get, and that I want to keep that separate from the happy, fun kids running around with Mavericks concept, and so that the people who are really into serious modding, who really enjoy the engineering aspect of it, can have that. And I don't like seeing that leak into the general city park event community, because it breeds elitism. It also can be dangerous. And that's another one that I've gotten into some pretty heated debates about Nerf, because I don't believe Nerf should hurt. That's kind of the point. I mean, that's why, one of the reasons I Nerf rather than airsoft or paintball, aside from the fact that in general I don't enjoy the attitudes of people in airsoft and paintball, because they're too competitive, because they are competitive sports. And I prefer to be, a little bit sillier. If I want to compete, I have things that I go and I compete in. But I also don't like getting welts for days. I did that in my youth when I fought heavy armored, and I'd have massive bruises for weeks at a time. I had a bruise on my leg that didn't go away for a year until I finally learned to block that particular attack. But I don't like doing that anymore. I prefer, getting hit by foam. That's more enjoyable to me. I can be silly and not have to deal with pain. And there are people who disagree, and they make their blasters dangerously powerful. And in an all-adult setting where everybody knows what they're getting into and everyone's okay with it, that's fine. But in a setting where there are children, I will get very upset and react probably angrier than I really should if I find somebody is doing something that is inherently dangerous. And I have gone off the rails inappropriately in the past, and have worked on dealing with that now to just be a little more, proactive and subtle, and let's just not do the dangerous things. Steel washers in Nerf and homemade Nerf darts is not acceptable for an event with children. An event with all adults, go for it if you know it's coming, so you can put a mask on, but shooting metal projectiles at children is simply not okay, in my opinion. The other area that it really is still a form of elitism are things like the whole deploy meme, which has gotten annoyingly old, in my opinion. And most of you probably know where it came from. It came from Frank Cooper's videos, actually, on the deploy, where he always seriously harped against it and bashed it and made fun of it. And largely that was because the deploy he had was old and worn out and particularly poor performing. But also, the deploy was never a high-performance blaster. It was back in the N-Strike days, before N-Strike Elite. It was reverse plunger. So it was brand new, out of the box. It was every bit as powerful as the Long Strike or the Raider or the Alpha Trooper, any of those reverse plunger blasters. But most of those, actually I think all of those now, have been replaced with Elite versions. Whereas there was never an Elite version of the deploy, and so the only deploys that exist are the old reverse plunger ones that are now getting worn out. The seals are bad and all of that. It also did have a poorly designed magazine well, which was harder to reload, and but it had that neat gimmicky feature, and that's why a lot of people really enjoyed it back in the day and have nostalgic things about it. And most kids nowadays have probably never even seen one and never handled one, and so the only thing they know about the deploy is what they've seen in Coop's videos. And as a result, they take it too much to heart and choose to use it as an excuse to bully people. And I don't like that, and I've actually spoken to Coop about it in person, and that wasn't what he intended either. It was supposed to be a joke. And people have taken that joke as truth. And that anybody who has a deploy is a noob and should be made fun of. And that's ridiculous. I don't like that. I constantly get people who are insulting me in my own comments because I bought, deploys at Goodwill, and I buy them for the parts. There are a load of amazing parts in the deploy for modding. There are so many springs and good screws, and the shells you can do things with the shell that you can't do with any other blaster. The extendable stock is the perfect size to make either a better stock on the long shot, or you can use it as a hammer shot holster with a little bit of dremeling and adding a belt loop. It's amazing. The magwell is completely self-contained, so you can then take that magwell off and make a magwell that you can attach to other things, like air blasters. There are so many good things you can do with it, but so many people just saw Coop's video and now believe that the deploy is garbage and will never touch one and will make fun of anybody who has one. And I do not hold with that kind of attitude in our hobby, because there's no place for that. We're playing with Nerf. Most of us are outcasts anyway. We don't need to be making fun of each other on top of that. Which, unfortunately, is... every hobby has that. There is no hobby you can hunt down. Even, quilting has elitists, and, basket weaving and Hot Wheel car collecting. All of them have elitists and, people who enjoy something for nostalgic reasons that is now considered obsolete, and so the elitists will make fun of them, and that's... I don't like that, and I don't like seeing it in our hobby, and I try to avoid it. I do absolutely know that I am not a saint, and that I am guilty of bullying myself. I know I did in middle school and elementary school, and I regret it now. I then, got bullied in middle school and high school because I have an unusual name, and kids cannot handle that. I have also been in relationships that were very, very much negatively affected by bullying that had been done to the person in their childhood. Because it sticks with you. When something is told to you at a young age, it's hard to get rid of it without proper help. And if you don't get it, it tends to just bottle up and taint everything that you do. And so you really need to think about what you're saying, what you're doing, why you're saying it, why you're doing it. That is something that I've gotten... I work hard on more so in the comments on my videos, of remembering that a lot of these comments are being made by little kids or people who are new to the hobby or new to my channel and don't know that I'm sick of people asking me if my gummy bears can take a K-26, who don't know that I'm sick of Jolt Reshell comments, who don't know that I do not believe that the deploy is garbage and that I'm a noob for buying it. They aren't aware of that, or they are just little kids and are asking an honest question that, is a silly question if you know the answer, but isn't if you don't. And so I have to try to remind myself, be nicer. Don't immediately lash out and be sarcastic or be mean to them, because they may very well be a 9-year-old who looks up to me, and if my comment is to call them an idiot, that could genuinely do them harm. Because, I'm someone that they may or may not hold in a high state of respect, which is terrifying to me. But I do work on that, and I appreciate it when people call me out on it. Like, hey, you didn't need to be mean about this. And then I'll look at their comment, look at my comment, and reevaluate and go, you're right, I overreacted. I'm sorry for that. There are some things where if you say certain things in my comments, no, you just get blocked. You know better. you should, or if you don't, it's not my place to correct you. But when it's simple misunderstanding, I will genuinely try to step back and go, hang on, why did they say this? Why might they think this? Are they just unaware that this is wrong? And I'll try to explain it to them. And there have been many times where someone has come back and explained to me that, no, that's not what I meant. I meant this. And I'm going, oh, I'm sorry, I misread that. And that's, again, the problem with the internet is you don't get tone, you don't get, facial expressions. You can't tell that they're smiling when they said the thing and are clearly, meaning it as a joke or being sarcastic. All of that is lost in the black and white of text. We really need a font for playful sarcasm. But at other times, I really would ask you to think about what you're about to say, and, is it a nice thing to say? It is a useful thing to say? If you're just saying something mean for the sake of saying something mean, don't do that. But if you're making a genuine criticism of, I think you did that wrong, or I disagree with that, that's fine. And hopefully I'll be able to, not take that personally and, take it as the useful criticism that it is. But this should be a hobby that should be a lot of fun, because it is adults, in a lot of cases, for me anyway, an adult playing with toys. Though, as I've had to point out to a lot of people, airsoft is toys, paintball are toys. If you just have guns for the sake of shooting guns, you're not actually a soldier or a hunter or a police officer, you're not actually using it as a tool or part of your job, then your guns are toys. My guns, I have real guns, they're toys. I take them out and I shoot at targets. I could do the exact same thing with a Nerf gun, and there would be no functional difference between them. Working on a racing car is probably, is a toy, or, watching sports. That's a hobby every bit as much as, watching Star Trek or whatever. So pretty much everybody has some kind of hobby or nerdery or geekery or something that they are passionate about and that they enjoy, and that if you ask them about it, they will light up and they will gladly tell you way more about it than you ever needed to know. I definitely have a lot of those in my life. And to make fun of somebody because their thing that they're passionate about is different than yours, it's just not nice, and you just shouldn't do it. People should be allowed to have fun. So that is my kind of take on Nerf. That's a lot of my philosophies come from the idea that as long as you're having fun and not preventing other people from having fun, you're doing it right. That's why we created the meme up here of I'd run that in a war, and Brett is the living embodiment of that concept. He's actually made it a part of his channel to run completely ridiculous loadouts. And he has so much fun doing it, and it's so much fun to play with someone who's being that ridiculous and to occasionally get tagged out by a banana. Not a plastic banana, an actual banana coming at you. It just keeps the game silly and fun and reminds us that we are playing a game. So, yeah, I think I have blathered on about this for far longer than I should. Let me know what you guys think. This could be something we can have a serious discussion about. Have you seen people that are doing this, or have you seen, other YouTubers that have a negative impact? Or better yet, what YouTubers do you think portray a positive attitude the best? That is what I really want to know, because there may be things that I can learn from them. And if I have done something that you consider, well, hey, you did this, let me know, because there may be reasons that I did it, or it may be something that you're like, you're right, I was wrong, I shouldn't have done that, I'm sorry, and I won't do that again. So let's make this a positive concept, and this is one of the things that I want to try to, work forward in the community and make it more and more, be aware of what your words and your actions, and I definitely need to be called out on myself probably every day or two, because it happens to me too. So there you have it. Bullying. Don't do it. Stop it when you see it, and don't take part in it. Thank you guys for watching.